Hello, and welcome to the Moments and Memories July 2026 launch party. Unfortunately, I couldn't be with you live this time around, so I did pre-record the video. If it's any consolation, it's only been recorded for a few hours. So I'm still going to walk through everything like I normally do. You just won't be able to interact with me through a live chat. But if you do have any questions at all, you can email the store. And I can pop up the email banner here just so you can have reference to that. So to scrapbookfriends@gmail.com. And we will be happy to answer any questions that you have. And then while you're here, why don't we give this video a thumbs up right away? We would appreciate that. And now we will jump in to all of the normal stuff. So you are looking at this month's bundle. And I sent an email out earlier today just to let everyone know it was going live tonight at 7 o'clock. And I was worried that you would all go, oh my gosh, it's themed. How am I going to do this? I don't have photos for that. But I'm going to hopefully put all of those thoughts to rest. And I'm going to share some personal insight into this month's kit. And then we'll go from there. But I'm going to show you what is in the bundle before we get too far in. So as you all know, well, maybe you don't know, Simply Stated Designs is a Canadian company, and they have stopped producing product for public purchase. I think you can still get product if you belong to their special, I don't remember what it's called, starts with a P, some kind of YouTube group or whatever. But they don't sell to stores anymore, and they don't sell to the general public. So before this happened, I had purchased this paper and ephemera because I knew I wanted to make a Canada themed month of our Moments and Memories for 2026. So I was really happy that I did that when I did. And I've said before that I plan these papers and things for each month, months and months and months in advance. So, you know, like I'm already starting to look at 2027 and what we're going to be using then. We have to order the releases well in advance. So I order them and I set them aside. I have no idea what I'm going to do with them. I just kind of purchase things that I think I'm going to be able to work with, and I go from there. So this month we are getting some never to be seen again Simply Stated products. You're going to get this package of ephemera that has some really fun stuff in here. So we're going to explore that. I've got some custom made die cuts in here. So we've got the Canada title, and then I've got a couple of embellishment pieces that I did. So that is in that white bag for you. You've got this amazing pattern paper. And I love the versatility of this because it can all be cut up into strips. And then you've got 2 sheets of white cardstock, and you will have a color photo of the layout that goes along with that. So I don't have the color photo to show you because I haven't picked it up yet. So that is your bundle. And then we're going to show you the layout. So let me put the bundle over here. And I'm going to show you what I created. And yes, it is Canada themed. So this is the layout page. Okay. And you'll notice what I made my title say. Now you can customize your page any way you want. You do get this large Canada die cut in your bundle. So that will come with it. You can use it or not. And then the made in is done with a die, which we'll talk about when I talk about the add-ons. And the reason I chose to make my title made in Canada is because if you happen to have like Canada Day photos, or you've traveled in Canada and you have something themed that will work with this, that's great. But if you don't, it kind of leaves you stuck. And I got really thinking about that. We live in Canada. Every day we experience Canadian things. So your everyday life will fit perfectly into this page without a problem. So, you know, I chose July for a couple of reasons. First of all, Canada Day is in July. Second of all, it's right smack in the middle of the summer. We take the most photos, I think, maybe maybe some people take more Christmas photos. I don't, but maybe some people do. But I feel like in July, we take a lot of photos. So this can all be about a Canadian summer, but all your memories are made in Canada. So I thought this was really cool. And then I thought of another thing. A friend of ours became a grandfather in July because his daughter had a baby. And obviously they're going to have baby photos. And if they were to scrapbook, if they were scrapbooking people, the baby was made in Canada. So, I mean, it's the way you look at it. And I honestly, and I've said this before, and I mean, I don't know whether you believe me or not, because it does seem to work out quite well for me, but I'm scrapbooking last year's photos. And I have, my memory is like 24 hours ahead of me and 24 hours behind me, maybe 48 on a good day. And I have no clue what I did last July. I know I raced a lot. I know we were trackside a lot. Beyond that, I really don't know. I have to go back and look through my photos. And I was shocked when I saw that July was the month that my husband and I went to a race, and it was down in Welland. And so we're, of course, close to Niagara Falls. We took our e-bikes with us, and we stayed an extra day, and we dropped our bikes down in Niagara-on-the-Lake, and we biked a trail all the way to Niagara Falls. So I happened to have photos, which I didn't even know I had when I was planning out this page. So you might be surprised when you look back through your photos as to what you've done. And like I said, if you don't have anything themed at all, that's totally okay. You live in Canada, and your memories are made in Canada. So that's why I chose the Made in Canada. But again, you can customize your title, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. And here is the second page to the layout. So it does have a real red and white theme, which is what I was going for. The papers are a little bit rustic, which is fun because we're going to be able to do some really cool techniques. But here's a side-by-side look. I don't know. We can't get it all on. I have to say zoomed in enough that we can see what I'm doing. But you can see that I've got some fun clusters going on. And I tried to pick embellishments from the ephemera pack that really speak Canada. So we've got the moose, we've got maple leaves. I made some embellishments, so we'll talk about those. We've got the to-go cup, and we've got the beaver. So again, things that will blend in with no matter what you're doing, especially if your title says Made in Canada. So I hope you enjoy this month. I had a lot of fun creating it, and I'm really interested to see what your feedback is. So, and I know not everybody is doing the Moments in Memory series. They just kind of jump in, grab these bundles when they see them and they like them. So I know this is going to be a very popular theme for our viewers. And I will say, because we ordered this a long time ago, I can't get more. So when we sell out, we sell out. So make sure that you are kind of ordering in a timely, time frame, because I don't know, this one might go faster than our normal ones do. So, and I have no control over that. So just make sure that you're paying attention and that you are ordering your supplies on time. So that is the layout. Now let's talk about our add-ons and things like that. So I'm just going to pull up a little list that I can look at here, because I want to be able to do this in order. Okay, here we go. All right, so add-ons. Obviously the July die cut, we do that every month. If you're doing the calendar side of the page, we do have the July in red, and that is shown on my layout right here. Okay, so we do have those. And we have more of those than we have actual layouts or bundles. So we should not run out of those unless people are buying multiples. So we do have lots of those. Next up, we have the calendar page. So if you are doing the calendar side of the layout, make sure you're picking up your blank calendar page so you can do that. So that is pretty much a standard every month. A sanding block. I've talked lots about how I sand my photos. And you can see that white. Oops, I forgot to mute my phone. Sorry about that. You can see that white edge on there. That's because I sanded the edges of my photos once I printed them. And it just has that white color that comes through, which is awesome. So sanding block is pretty much a standard thing. Excuse me. Brushes for splatter. I did do some splattering on my background. You can see it in the background there. Again, this is not a new technique. We've done this a lot. We have a shopping section set up on our online store. Right on the homepage, you can go in there and that's where you're going to get your bundle and then all the supplies that I'm talking about here. So the brushes and then the black acrylic speckle for splatter, or the, oh, it's not focusing. There we go. Or you can use the Winsor & Newton or whatever you use to splatter. You'll want to have that if you want to do that technique. And I did use tiny diamonds for embellishments. See the little red diamonds there? They're on there along with the clear quartz sequins from Gina K. So I don't have mine in packaging, so I can't show them to you, but they're in that shopping section. And they tie in really nicely with this layout that I did. Black twine. If you want to do the tags and you just want solid black twine, we sell that by the yard, I think 2 yard minimum. So if you don't have any black twine, you can pick that up. And then I did use a new tool for stamping it. This is a clear acrylic stamp handle from Tailored Expressions. So this is my first time using it. I really like it. I will demo how I used it, but that is in the shopping section as well. And then cardstock. So in the kit, you get your two sheets of white. One you're going to use as a background. The other one you're going to use for a technique that we're going to use for this piece that's behind these photos. And also there is extra in here to mat your photos if you want to do film strip type stuff over here. But I did not include black cardstock for your title. So if you're going to be die cutting out letters to personalize your title, you're going to need some black cardstock. So we put cardstock options in our shopping section. Also the Color Vibe Red. So I just have a scrap here. That's the color that matches everything that we did here. It matches the title. And if you want to matte your photos, like I did some matting over here, I also used red to create this element over here. So if you want to use red to do that, you could do black, you could do gray, you could do craft. So I did, that's up to you what color you want to use, but you'll want to pick up some red if you want to do that. We are using a dye that creates the Canadian flag, and that also uses red. So that is the cardstock I used. It's the Color Vibe Red. So that will be in the shopping section. And then also, if you don't have craft cardstock, there are going to be a couple of embellishments that I've included in your bundle. But then there's also some that I made. Things like the tag reinforcements are done in craft. I made some postage stamps out of craft. I used craft in my die cut for the Canada flag. I also created these little maple leaf icons here, and that has craft on it. So if you don't have craft cardstock, you'll want to pick up some craft, and that's in our shopping section as well. And then as far as inks go, I used the VersaFine Clair for stamping. So we did some stamping on this layout, so we'll talk about that. I used Distress Oxide pumice stone, and that is going to be to create this piece in the background here. We'll talk a little bit more about that. And then also the Distress Oxide Scorched Timber. The paper in this collection that you're getting, you'll notice has these black edges on it. And I wanted to create those on the pieces once I cut the edges. So I used Scorched Timber to do that. And this color worked out really, really well. You'll notice I have it on the background piece here too. And it just kind of ties everything together. So we'll talk a little bit more in depth about that when I'm showing you the techniques, but that is something that I used. And then I talked about the black ink for splattering and the black ink for stamping. Okay, so now let's talk about other dyes and things that I used. So the Canadian flag. So this dye has been around for a while. We've talked about it lots. We've sold a lot of them. So you may have it in your stash already. And if you do, woohoo. If you don't, we do have some in stock right now, but we have more coming. They're already ordered, but I do not think they're going to make it for our shipment that arrives across the border next week. So I think that timeline is just unrealistic. And I think it's going to be the next delivery, which is 2 weeks from next week. It will be around, I know we're going to say the September word and it's going to be scary. It is going to be September 2nd, the next time we get a big shipment across the border. So it is going to be a little bit of a wait, but I did get them ordered as soon as I knew I was using it. So you will be able to pre-order them. And then when they arrive, they will just go into your box for you. So this is a great die set to have. I've used it on many, many things. Finding Canada themed things is really tricky. So when we can score and get something like this, I'm trying to get that to focus. It's focusing on my layout. When we can score stuff like this, it's really great to have it in your stash. So if you don't have this one yet, I highly recommend that. But that is one die set that I'm using. The other one we've used lots of times before. So it's the reinforced tag attachments, reinforcement tags, toppers from Tailored Expressions. I've recommended them tons of times, so many of you might have them in your stash already. If not, we do have a few in stock. If they happen to go out of stock, just reach out to us. We'll add them to our order and let you know when they arrive. I don't want to invest a lot of money in stuff that our customers have bought a lot of already and may have. So that is one thing. The waffle flower postage collage, the A2 size die set. Again, we've sold billions of these. We've used it in the past. I'm going to be focusing on this die right here for our layout. That's how I'm going to make the postage stamps. So if you have the A2 size, even if you have the A6 size or A7, even mini slim, I believe they have a square postage option, which will work. If not, we do have some in stock. I didn't order deep or anything. We always have a few in stock. So you can pick that up, or if we run out, you can just let us know and we will make sure we get them to you. The other thing I've used many times before is the postage collage fall. Oh my gosh, I gotta get this layout out of here. The fall postage collage stamp. I'm going to be using the little cancellation marks and things and the numbers from in here. I like the fall one because they're small. The regular postage collage also has a similar idea, but they're bigger and we're using them on small postage stamps. So I like the smaller size, but you can work with what you have. We do have a few in stock. If we need more, we'll get more, but that is that. I recommend like a 1/2 inch circle punch, or if you have a circle die that will do around a 1/2 inch size, that's to make these cute little maple leaf embellishments that I talked about. And then for my alphabets here, I used the Concord and Ninth all together alphabet set. I did lowercase. It comes in lowercase and uppercase. We have some of both in stock and we have more on the way. But it is an all together die set. So you can put a piece of paper across here and cut it once and you get all the alphabet. If you want just, one letter at a time, you just put a scrap behind the letter you want and then you can cut that out. I use this a lot in my regular scrapbooking, and it is a really great way to customize titles. I love the mixed font idea, and I like the option to be able to do that. So highly recommend this die set for just everyday personalizing. You can use it cards or layouts. It works great for both. So that is pretty much all of the add-ons for this round. And like I said, Shelby will have all of those set up in a section where you will find your bundle as well. And that's where that will be available. Again, just reach out to us if there's anything that you are looking for and can't find, and we will definitely help you out. Okay, so let's break this down a little bit. I did not write out my measurements for things, but I'm going to, I'll kind of write them out as I go. You know what? Actually, I'm going to pause this. I'm going to write them out and then I'll be back and I can have them so that you will have a visual, because I know you guys like that. So just give me 1 second. I'll be right back. Okay. So getting back to my measurements here. So from the red, if you get red or whatever red you're using or whatever color you decide to use. For the photos over here. Now, again, I don't really like giving photo measurements and matting because everybody's photos are going to be different depending on what you are doing. And they should be different because your life is not my life. So these two photos started as 3x4 pictures, but I trimmed them down a little bit. So the matting that I'm using over here is 3 1/8 this way and 3 7/8 this way. So there's two of them there. So again, depending on what size photos you're using, that will vary. And then if you're going to do the photo strip thing here, again, I think a lot of that is going to depend on how many photos you use in your strip and what size you're using them. So the total length of my photo strip here is 7 1/4 inches, and it's 2 1/4 wide. And then the white that I used in here, which I've given you a full sheet of white, so you'll be able to get these strips out of that. Both of those pieces are 2 inches wide by 6 3/8 long. So that leaves a bigger section at the top here and kind of an even border like all the way around. So you'll have to kind of play with it a little bit. The little tab that I used up here, that is from a really old set. We can't get it anymore. It's the MFT money card stuff. They have little dies that you can create the little tabs so it looks like it's a hanging gift card. So that's where I pulled that out just for something different. But you can use the tag reinforcements or something like that on the top as well. That will work. But that's what I had in my stash. So I pulled it out and used it just for something fun and different. So that's the red and white for this page. Now, this side here, this white piece that we're going to cut out and create a backdrop for this photo cluster, that measures 6 1/2 from top to bottom and 7 inches across. Okay. And then we're going to do some ink and stuff on that. So that's the measurements for that. Now, the patterned paper, I'm going to cut with you because it's a bit trickier and I want you to get all the pieces. So I'm going to grab a trimmer and I don't normally use this style of trimmer, but I usually use a guillotine trimmer, but this is easier to show you on a screen. So to start, the paper is in strips. So to start, what I want you to do is cut off the top row of strips. And when you place this in your trimmer, I want you to center this black line. Here, I'll pull it up here. This black line here, I want you to center your blade kind of in the middle there. I mean, if it's not exactly in the middle, it's not a big deal. But that's just kind of how I lined up my trimmer. It's not a measurement, it's a place. Okay, so you're going to cut that top row off. So you're going to end up with this. And see how then you end up with some of the black on here on the edge. And then you also end up with some of the black on the edge over here, which is kind of what I want. Okay, and then from this, okay, let's never mind that. We'll go back to that. Then you're going to turn it around. And on the bottom, you have more of those strips plus this one. So I'm going to cut those two in individual pieces as well. And again, same concept. You're going to kind of center your blade down the middle of that black as best you can. Okay, so that's going to give you this piece. And then you're going to do the same thing with that next strip. Again, center it in the center as best you can and cut. Okay, so these three pieces are now cut. And I'll show you what you're going to do with that. So these two, let's set this one aside. These two here are the top of this. Okay, so you can see this piece. I just left it the width that it is. Now this one, what I did was I tore the edge. Okay, and then I tucked it underneath. So you're going to tear the edge on this and you're going to tuck it underneath, and that's going to give you this piece here. Now, if you find that you don't have much of a black line, and then on the edges, there is no black line. This is how I wanted to recreate that line. And that's where you're going to pull out that scorched timber ink. This is the dark one. And you're simply going to take the edge of your paper and you're going to rub it along the edge of your ink pad. And you're going to get that nice black line. So see how that mimics what is already there? And then here there's none showing a black line. So I'm just going to take that and I'm going to rub it along the ink pad until I get the look that I want. Start conservatively, and then you can go in and add a bit more. So there is the black line. And again, just kind of look and see where you need to add it. If you want a really distressed look, go crazy. But if you just want a little bit, then just go in the areas that you feel like you need to do it. So there, I feel like I've completed that strip and it looks the same all the way around. And that's going to look really great on your page. And then again, you're going to tear the edge of this and you're going to tuck it underneath. If you don't want to tear the edge, don't tear it. Just slip it under there like that. And then I would add a little bit of distressing along the edge of it to make it have that black edge. And then you're going to be good. Okay, so that goes on the top of your page. So that's easy. All right, so then if you go to this one, now I wrote down numbers and I've moved this all around, so I'm not sure anymore. Oh yeah, I've got it the right way. Okay, so this, we're going to create some tags. So there's 2 tags up here. I'm going to just pull that up. Okay, so they layer on top of each other. They're not angled. They're basically rectangles, just layered on top of each other. And then I put a tag topper. There is a tag topper on this one, but the coffee cup covers it up. But what you do for these 2 tags is it is tag number 6. And when I say number 6, I'm going to start from this side and count over. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's this one and tag number 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So these 2 here are what you're going to cut out. And those are going to be the tags that you use up here. Okay, so it's 4 and 6. And again, I use the scorched timber ink pad and distressed any edges that I needed to make it look nice and black. Now, for page 1, there are 2 tags up here. Okay, so for that one, I use tag 2. So 1, 2. So that's this one. And then the other one is tag 3, which is this one in the back. Okay, same concept, cut them out, distress any of the edges you need to, and then decide which one you want the top to be and which one you want the bottom to be. I have them facing this way, I think. Yes, this way. And then add your toppers, and then they just tuck in behind those photos. So that's where I got those tags from. Now, the other piece that you have is this one here. This is what's left. Okay. So what you're going to do is what I'm going to do, what I did. Let me pull it in here so you can see. These strips are cut from this, but they are 5 inches wide. Okay. Yes, 5 inches wide. If you want them to be longer, then you can cut them a little bit longer. But what you're going to do is cut 5 inches off of this. The remaining piece, you're going to be using to make these pieces. Now, these pieces don't run all the way through. There's a piece here and then a piece here. And like they're cut off behind the photos because they don't need to run all the way through. And you don't have enough paper to do that. So you're going to cut a piece, for this part and then for this part here. And then same thing with that second strip, you're going to do that. So you have to leave enough over here in order to do that. So if you want to do it kind of based on the measurements that I did, if you cut 5 inches off of this side, then that will give you enough to do exactly what I did here. And you'll see the little bits of it out each side. If you feel like you need a little bit more space, you can go to 6 inches maybe, but that might mean that you have to sacrifice a little bit over here. Now, obviously your photo configuration, you can try to mimic what I did if your photos work, because you want to make sure that in this area, you have enough photos to fill in the middle part where those tag pieces are not going to be seen underneath. That's the only thing you've got to kind of watch. So you can go ahead and get this whole piece in place along with your tag pieces, and then you can play around with how you want to lay out your photos. You can print a collage of photos in one big size if you want and just plunk it on there. I like the way that it looks to have individual photos so that you can overlap them and you sand the edges and it just looks really nice. This one I actually used foam adhesive to pop it up. So I like the way that that looks, but you can kind of play around with that and see what works best for you. I also like the fact that I have a place to kind of indent my title onto that little photo or that backdrop that we've made there. And it kind of indents and goes into the edges of the photo. So just keep all those things in mind when you're deciding what you want to do. This is Amanda's kit, so I'm going to go ahead and make the decision for her. This is the one we're actually going to measure. And we're going to go 5 inches because that was plenty for me to work with. And that gives her a little more flexibility with these pieces so that she can make those 2 pieces over here. Now, what I would do is also, like, you're going to just use these 2 pieces to do the banner or the strip across here. This top one, you can now bring this over and join it in here to get more strips on this side. So I would recommend doing that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that off. And again, it's not a measurement. It's a space on your trimmer. Like you're following that edge with your blade. Okay. So that leaves the 2 pieces here that you're going to cut apart and use for your banner pieces. So you're going to have to kind of, you know, cut them in half, and then 2 will be for the back and 2 will be for the front. You're going to cut these down the middle. So you have 2 separate strips to work with. And I did make a banner end into one end of each of these pieces. And all you do there is find the center point and measure up 1/2 inch or however deep you want your V to go. And then you cut from the corner to that spot. So it's very easy to do a V. So that's what that piece is for. And then this piece here, what did I do with that extra strip? Right here. Plus this, you're going to cut a variety of different widths of strips to go up here. And they're all going to be 5 inches. And then when you lay them on here, you're going to stagger them a little bit so that, you know, they stick out a little bit uneven on this end and also on this end. And I'm not going to give you dimensions because you can decide where you want to cut. So in other words, there's a nice black line here. So I'm going to cut definitely there. Okay, I'm going to cut that. And then I might cut this top piece into 2. I might cut it into one that's a little wider than the other, just to get some variation. You don't want them to all be the same. And the thing is too, you're overlapping them. I'm just going to hold that up so you can see. They're overlapped a little bit. So, and use that ink pad to distress the edges. And once they're overlapped and lined up, it's not going to matter much. So you can pick and choose what dimensions you want to use, but you've got these strips here to do that. You'll have to shorten this one to your 5 inches, but you've got lots to work with. And that's how I divided up that pattern paper. So isn't it amazing what you can do with 1 sheet of paper? I love that. It's really cool to be able to do stuff like that. And that's why I say, with the exception of the strip going across the top here, see, it's okay to get 6x8 pads and 6x6 pads sometimes to create your layouts, because you're just using bits and pieces, scraps. 12x12 pages are wonderful if you can get the patterns that you want, because you have more flexibility with them. But don't be shy about the 6x8 pads and the 6x6 pads, because you can do a lot. And even to get a long strip like this, oh my gosh, I could have, if it was a 6x8 pad, I could have an 8-inch strip, and then behind here's where my seam's going to be, and then it carries on. You can totally get away with stuff like that, and no one's going to really know. So that is how I managed to piece together all of the pattern papers. Now we're going to talk about how I created the piece that goes in behind here, this white piece that isn't white anymore. Well, it's kind of white, but it's got some distress on it. And I kind of handmade a piece of white. So I'm going to grab just a scrap right now and show you my technique. I think I actually saw Gina Kay do this one time for a card video. She made her own like wood grain paper. And I don't know, just sort of stuck with me. And I thought, I wonder. And when I saw this paper, you know how it's got that sort of like wood grain look? I thought, I kind of want to recreate that and layer it on top of my white background. So all you're going to do is take your ink pad and you're going to be brave. And if you want to practice on scrap paper first, go ahead. But you're just going to take this and you're just going to drag it down your paper. And don't be shy. Oh, this is the wrong color. I'm sorry. See, it's just paper. Don't worry. I didn't want it to be that dark. Let me just clean this off. You want to use the pumice stone, that we talked about before. The scorched timber is too dark. So flip that over. Grab the pumice stone, duh. And again, you're just going to drag it across and overlap the edges of your pad and just drag it across. Don't be scared. Abnormal is good. Okay, so that's kind of what you're going to do. Now I'm using an oxide ink, so it's going to take a minute to dry. You can use regular distress. We have smaller pads available in the regular distress. You can use those, but your lines are going to be tighter together when you're doing your dragging, just because your pad isn't as big. So, and I do like the look that the oxide gives. But once you're done with that part, then you're going to go with your scorched timber. And that's where you're going to darken up your edges to make it kind of look like the other papers. Okay, see how just by rubbing it across there, see how you get that black line? If you want more, you have to go on more of an angle, and then it'll go in further. And I really like to kind of give the corners an extra little bit. And you'll go all the way around your paper like that. And then eventually you're going to end up with a piece that looks, let me find my layout. Over here. You're going to end up with a piece that looks like this background piece. And I'm going to hold it up there. Again, the dragging of the ink across, it'll dry and fade out a little bit, but it's enough that it stands it out from the back of your paper as a separate block. Okay, so that's why I created that. And then everything is layered on top of that. Okay, now I'm going to talk about what's in your little bag here. So let's get these things out of the way. So in here, we call these losables. Okay, so when you dump out your bag, be careful because you don't want to lose anything, but they are called losables. And these bags also have like little creases in them. So the little dot for Canada, be sure to really look for that because it should be in there. If for some reason you do lose your dot, no big deal. Find a circle die, a hole punch, something, punch out a dot, and all of a sudden you've got your dot. Okay. I've also enclosed two of these. Oops, I left an arrow in here. See, I thought I lost one. Two of those tabs and then two arrows. Here we go. So those are your custom die cuts. There's your dot. Right there. Okay. Now, how did I use those? So what I did was one of the tabs is tucked in on here. So that's on this page. And you're just going to want to go through your stamps and see what you can find to put up there. It can be anything. It's going to be more personalized because you want to find something that works with the theme of your page and the photos that you're showing. Okay, so I put in love this memory, and I don't want anyone emailing me about where that stamp set's from because you absolutely cannot get it. I picked it up many, 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 many years ago. It's a company we've never carried before. I think I got it at one of our garage sales. So just go through your stash and see what you can find. The other one I used over here, and it's just tucked in behind the photo strips. And then the arrows, I have one here. Again, I've stamped on the long part of the arrow. And then the other one is over here on the bottom of this part. Okay, so just little embellishments that you can use on your page. I'm just going to tuck these back in here so they aren't missing for Amanda. And then I did make postage stamps and also little circles with a little maple leaf on them. Now, funny enough, the maple leaf comes in this fall postage stamp set because it's got these little leaves in it. So all I did was punched out some circles and I stamped the little leaves on there. So here is a little circle, and it's a little 1/2-inch circle. So if you've got a die or if it's 3/4 of an inch, it's not a big deal. And that's where I use that little stamper. So this, you can just pick up that stamp And believe it or not, you can look down the center of this and you can see that stamp? You can see it. So you can put your ink on there and then you just kind of get on top of this and you can just kind of stamp right in the middle. If you're not comfortable doing that, you can just stamp out some of these little leaves onto some craft cardstock and then go in with your die afterwards and make sure it's nice and centered. So that works really well too. But I do like this little handle. I'm not going to use it for everything I stamp, but when you have tiny little things like that, it's just really nice. It fits in your hand good, and you can really kind of stamp easily with it. So I quite like that. It's something new. So I thought I would try that out. So that's where I did the little leaves. And then to create the postage stamps, I'm just going to use some scrap craft cardstock here. And I am going to cut out that postage die. I'm going to pull this out here. And I'm going to cut that out of craft. I'm going to do it several times because I want to make a bunch of these postage stamps. But I'm going to do just one to show you. But you're going to cut out the postage stamp. And then you're going to, with your trimmer, you're going to cut out a piece to layer on top. So this gives you that nice postage stamp. Look how the die, when it goes through your machine, how it gets that quilted look. It really gets that pushed in stitching, and then it kind of elevates that area in the center. That is because I'm using really good heavyweight cardstock. And the Gina K, the Tailored Expressions, the Concord and Ninth Craft is all really good, because what happens when you put it through your die cut machine, it gives you that nice quilted cushion from the pressure. And I really love how that looks. So that's why I like to use those papers. This, you're just going to cut a piece that's 3/4 of an inch by 3/4 of an inch. So you don't need any special die. And that's the piece that's going to layer on top of your postage stamp. So if you look at mine, do I have any extras? I do. So here is mine. And you can see that center layer has inking around it. That's because I cut a piece for the background and then a piece that layers on top. And this piece, you want to take that scorched timber and just rub the edges along the edge. You don't necessarily want it to go in too far. You just want to define that edge. And then you're going to glue it onto here. But before you do, that's where you want to pull out these stamps. And I use that little cancellation one, and then I use 25 cents. And again, yeah, I don't know. That one doesn't, it fits, but it's tight. So I'm going to use the little square block here, but the 25-cent one would be good. So I'm going to use that, and I'm going to use my black ink, and I'm going to just stamp on my registration mark. And you want to do this before you stick it down, because you want it to go out to the edge of this, but not the edge of that. Okay, there's that. I'm going to try this. But I'm going to have to go off screen because I won't be able to see. Oh, yeah, perfect. Okay, so there we go. So there's the 25 cents. So that's perfect. And then you're just going to take your glue and your tweezers. There's my tweezers. Oops. And you're just going to stick that together, and you're going to have a really cool postage stamp. Now, I did embellish that with a red maple leaf, you'll see, and that is from the Canada flag. So when you use the Canada flag die, which I've lost, oh, Carolyn, it wouldn't be alive if I didn't lose something, right? Hang on, it's here somewhere. Oh, boy. Okay. Oh, here it is. Okay. So with the Canada die, what you're going to do to create your flag. So the flag itself, let me pull on my flag. So the flag itself is cut in red. So you want to take this die and cut it in red. And then it has another die There's actually 2 of them. I haven't cut mine apart because I usually run this through at the same time. You're going to run this through, and there is a die that fits on top. So I cut it out of white, and it covers up the middle section. And then the red has it's a hole, like a window going through. It's this hole. And the red will show through and look like a red maple leaf. And then there is a die that does the stick right here. And that's what I did in craft. And so it's very, very easy to assemble. But you can also use this just to run it through. And then when the maple leaves pop out, you can use them as embellishments. So I added the red maple leaf here and on all my postage stamps. And then I also added it up here. And then I put the dot of my eye for in is a maple leaf as well. So I used it kind of as an embellishment on the page as well as for the flag. Now, the other cool thing, and the reason you get 2 of these is because one of them is meant to go on the die one direction. Oops, this way. Okay, see? But then if you want the flag to fly the other way, then you use this one. And that's what I did on this page. And I was using the Color Vibe paper. So on the back, there's a dot, but that's where I use this one so that it flies the other way. So the flags are flying in opposite directions on my pages, but I'm using the same die. You just flip it over. So I like that you can go different directions with that too. So lots of things you can do with that die. Like it's a simple, basic die. First of all, it covers a theme that we don't really see a lot. And it also allows you to create your embellishments and stuff for your pages. So that's that. Now, I think I have covered everything that I did on my page. I've made a mess. I know that. I want to bring the pages back in here. So I hope you love all of the embellishments. Oh, I didn't talk about the ephemera. Let's talk about the ephemera. Let's open that up. So in here, we've got lots of fun stuff. And it's all like just stuff that you see in Canada, which I love. So let's go through it. And I'll talk about how I clustered it at the top here. So this one is a maple leaf. I love the distressing on it. So that's the one I use there. I also use the bottle of maple syrup. And it's just kind of tucked in behind. We do have a Canada goose. It did not make the page, but that is definitely a symbol of Canada. There are lots of those around. I'm trying to find all the pieces. Well, we've got the Canada sweater. You get a couple of those, actually. One is slightly bigger than the other. So I'm sure you could find a use for those. We didn't use those on the page. Here, that's the moose. We've got a couple of hockey players, which is also excellent. Just didn't quite work out with the photos and things that I was using, so I will save those. We've got Parliament buildings. We've got our Canada to-go cup. So again, that's going to go kind of down here. So you can see that I've created my cluster. Now I'm going to add my postage stamp and my tags and my flag. And I've got the cluster that goes up here. Then we have our very handsome little beaver sporting a hat and a flag. And he's going to go here. And I'm going to add that little piece that I made. So we use him. And then you've got a totem pole. And you do have a maple leaf with hockey sticks. You could cut the sticks off if you don't want to use that, but I didn't use this one. I had enough without it, so I didn't have to do anything to that. But this here is the moose and this flag, or sorry, this leaf cluster. And then I did a postage stamp and my flag, and that's how I created this. And then I also added another one of those little circles with the leaf on there too. So you'll see those sort of scattered throughout the layout. I've got a little cluster here with a postage stamp in that. I've got one here. And then I've got one over here. So it's a really fun way to just kind of make your own embellishments. And then I did pop another leaf up at the top. I thought it looked cute up there. So that's what I did. Okay, now I think I've talked about everything. So again, if you have any questions, please feel free to email us at the store and we will be happy to answer those. But in the meantime, happy shopping and happy creating. And again, I'd love to hear what you think about the theme of this month's page, because I had a lot of fun doing it and I just think it was so cool. So anyways, we'll talk again soon.